what is real, authentic, saving faith? I was thinking about the verse that says, if you seek to save your life, you'll lose it. But if you lose your life for my sake, you will find it. And that verse made me think, so forgive the rambling, but it needs to be considered, because there's a lot of self-justification, and I'm just thinking about my own life. And how I would look at my life and my sin. And I believed in a sovereign God, and I do believe in a sovereign God, a God who looks at the end from the beginning, and that we can have confidence that because we believe in a sovereign God, that we can have faith that there's a victory, that He overcomes the enemy and He conquers death and He wins the battles. And we can read the book of Revelation and hear that He's gonna win. It's not up for debate whether He's gonna win or not. He's already won. So we can have faith that He's already won and that He's going to do all the things He says He's going to do, because He's sovereign. But there's a point where we use God's sovereignty as almost like as an allowance for our disobedience and our sin. Because it says, for example, how far do you take this concept of if you save your life, like if you seek to save your life and it says, if you seek to save your life, you'll lose it. And if you lose your life for my sake, you'll find it. So there's this concept of dying to self. How far does that go? Right? How far do you take that? Because there's ideas of there are ideas that let's just take the basic concept of salvation. We believe that we are saved by grace through faith, not by works, right? So that we can't boast, I chose this, I did this, therefore God owes me salvation because of something I did. I made this decision, I did these works, I did these things, I did these, and therefore God owes me like a payment. He owes me salvation. Right? So we reject that. We say, no, it's by grace, right? There's nothing we did, there's nothing we chose, God sovereignly, providentially elected us to be His. But then there's evidences. There's evidences of faith. There's like proof. Because the question is, this is something that has to be really considered and chewed on. Is that, picture a line, and below that line are all the people that thought they were saved, that Jesus is going to say, I never knew you. And above that line are all the people that God rescues, His elect, His people, His chosen. All of those people, those are the ones that Jesus says, well done, good and faithful servant. Those are the ones that Jesus says, when I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. Those are all the people that were able to forgive the way God forgave them, right? And under that are the people that couldn't forgive. Because Jesus says, if you don't forgive, then my Father can't forgive you. Under that line are the people who don't love their brother, love their sister, love their neighbor as themselves, right? Those are the people who sought to save their life here in this world. So all of that is under that line. But you still have to consider that all those people that are under that line did not experience God's grace. The people above that line experience God's grace. So those who are experiencing God's saving grace, His special grace, those people they were given a new heart that gave them a new character and a new... Because Jesus says this, He said, why do you call me master and you don't do what I say? He says also, go and teach them everything that I've taught you, to do those things. And so if you are under that line, it's like, so picture like that line as almost like a volume. And so when you say, I believe, that line goes up. But is that line, do you believe unto salvation? Or are you only believing to save your life? You see what I mean? Like, those who seek to save their life will lose it. So if you're saying, I believe in Jesus, I believe in God's sovereignty, I believe in the providence of God, I believe that He chose us, we didn't choose Him, and you have all of the right theological statements, you're saying all the right things, I believe in Jesus, I believe we're saved by grace, I believe all these things. But is it really saving faith? Can anyone just say, I believe, I believe? And just because you said the magic words, I believe, that means you're saved. That's not true. Because the Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So unless those words are coming from a converted heart, unless the heart has been changed and says, I believe that in spite of what I've done, I believe that God will rescue me, and He's converting me, and He's changing me, and He's doing this work. And so now I look at my brother, I don't look at my brother the same. I look at him with compassion because of the compassion that God's given me. And so there's a kind of like a crossing over from death to life, where before you would believe, but it wasn't, your faith was not necessarily for the glory of God. Your faith was just to save your life. And because you're still in the center of the universe, you're still the motivating factor. It's for you. It's not for His glory. So what is true saving faith? Saving faith is the evidence. That's what Hebrews says. Faith is the evidence, the conviction of that thing that you're hoping for. And what is that thing that you're hoping for? What is that? What is the centerpiece? If it's not you anymore, and the motivation isn't you anymore, what is the motivation? The motivation is the glory of God. And then, so he says, look, if you're living for me, then you're going to love your brother. That's the real evidence. The real evidence of authentic faith is selflessness. That's the true evidence. That's the crossing over. That's how you can know. That's how the Spirit bears witness with your spirit that you're a child of God, that you've crossed over that line from death to life. When your real faith, because before it's, oh, I believe, and I fall short, and I'm wicked, and the heart of man is deceitfully wicked above all things. I'm the chief of sinners. All of this, that doesn't save. Those truths don't save. It doesn't cross you over. It's just truth. The devil knows those truths. The demons know those truths. Everybody knows those truths. You can read it in the book. You can repeat it. You can regurgitate it. You can hear it in a sermon. You can say it. But those things don't save. You can say all you want. God is providential. God is sovereign. And nothing happens outside of God's will. Well, yes, that's all true. But that doesn't save. Those things don't save. You're just repeating characteristics of God's nature. That's all you're doing. You're not trusting in that providence. Just because you say God is sovereign doesn't necessarily mean that you're trusting in His sovereignty. True trust in His sovereignty is, I'm not worried about my well-being. I'm not worried about my comfort. I'm not worried about my honor. I'm not worried about my dignity. I'm not worried about my health and wealth and my satisfaction. I'm not worried about any of those things. I'm not worried about how other people see me. I'm not worried about any of those things. I'm worried about one thing: the glory of God. I'm worried about loving the Lord with all my heart, all my soul, all my mind, all my strength, and loving my brother as I love myself. That's my main concern. I'm worried about, am I being enough of a servant to reflect the way God has served me? When those things are evident in you, you know you've crossed from death to life. When you really are concerned about others' well-being before your own, and where you can be wronged, you can be mocked, you can be persecuted, you can be made fun of, you can be slandered, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't even enter within your realm of care. You really don't even care about those things because your eyes are fixed on something else, and that's the glory of God, loving Him and loving one another. That's why He says, look, if you don't forgive, I can't forgive you. Because you're still under that line. You haven't crossed over from death to life. If you can't forgive someone else, it's because you haven't tasted forgiveness. You're still in the state of unrepentance. You're still in that state of like a stony heart. You're still in the state of coldness and in the state of death. You haven't come to the place of warmth of a beating heart that says, man, I've been made alive. All these things have been washed away. Man, Jesus died for me. While I was still a sinner, He died for me. And so you look at the whole world. And so then when you think about the verse that says, unless you're willing to lose your life for my sake, what does that mean? Well, I understand now, understanding that verse gives a glimpse of understanding of what real faith is. Faith is trusting Jesus with your life. That He is your vindicator. He is He's the one fighting on your behalf to do all of those things that need to be done. And it isn't to squash people. It isn't to pay them back. I'm not trusting in the Lord that He's going to go and slay all of my enemies. That's not, you still haven't died yet if you're living that way. You still haven't died yet if you're putting your needs, your comfort, your satisfaction, your peace of mind, your success, your victory first. If you're putting yourself first above your spouse, above your parents, above your children, above your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, children that you haven't even and you will never meet, that are going to come from your line. If you're not living for them, for their sake, to say, yes, I'm willing to suffer this. Yes, I'm willing to put up with this. Yes, I'm willing to be seen as the loser, or to be seen as gullible, or to be seen as ignorant, or to be seen as foolish. I'm willing to be seen that way because of the surpassing joy of knowing Jesus. Like, yes, everyone can mock me, everybody can laugh at me, everybody can look at me, everybody can judge me, everybody can point at me, but I'm living in a way that puts other people first. That puts the glory of God, because when I put other people first, that glorifies God. He says, how can you say you love me if you don't love your brother? That's why He says, if you didn't give me a cold water to drink, that doesn't mean going out and, okay, I'm going to set up a street sign and say cold water for anybody who's thirsty. That's not what He's talking about. That's like the definition of works-based salvation. That's not what He's talking. What He's saying is that when you don't show compassion, when you know that someone is in need, and it's within your capacity to fill that need, and you turn your back on it, that's showing that you have yet to cross over. That's why He says, I never knew you. That's why He uses those two verses in the same context, where He says, and then the other people are oblivious that they're doing it for the Lord, like as far as a payment exchange goes. They're doing it because God has converted their heart and has shown them compassion, and so they go and they move, not to try to earn salvation. They go and they say, and that's why they ask Jesus, say, when did we do this for you? He says, when you did it to the least of these, you were doing it for me. They're being motivated because they're a new creature, a new creation. They were doing it just from a changed heart for the glory of God. That's why you can withstand persecution. You can withstand the mocking. You can withstand the humiliation. You can withstand the accusations. All of those things you can withstand. That's why that beautiful picture of Hosea and the prostitute, this is what God does. He is there to serve the one who doesn't deserve it. That doesn't make the one that doesn't deserve it equipped for salvation. No, the one that's doing the serving is the one that's equipped for salvation. So, like, we're called to serve those who don't deserve it. We're called to love those who don't deserve it. We're called to forgive those who don't deserve it, who aren't even looking for forgiveness. We're just called to love and serve and to be like Jesus. But I can't do it on my own strength. I need to be changed. Man, it's seriously time to put to death that concept of, I'm saved by grace through faith in Christ, and I believe in the sovereignty of God, and I believe that God chooses us. We don't choose Him. And so I said all the right things. I believe all those things. And so therefore I'm converted because I believe all those things. That is not evidence of salvation at all. You're just applying head knowledge to things that even the demons know. They know that God is the King of the universe and that He's sovereign and that He knows all things. They know that. And they're not saved just because they know it. And you can say it all day long and you can repeat it over and over. No, God's going to save me. God's going to save me. God's going to save me. You can repeat it over and over. You know, God is going to save me. God is going to save me. Why? How? What down payment do you have as an individual that God is going to save you when your life is showing evidence that you haven't been saved yet because you don't care about anybody? You don't love anyone. You don't have compassion on anybody. You don't serve anyone. And the people that you do serve are only the ones that haven't offended you yet. And so you might look at all this and say, wait a minute, I do those things. I am compassionate. I am a servant. I do help. But all of the people that you are serving and all the people that you're helping are the ones that don't need it. They're the ones that play nice with you. They're the ones that are friendly to you. They're the ones that haven't offended you. But all the ones that do need the love, that do need the forgiveness, that do need the grace, that do need the compassion, are the ones that have offended you. This is exactly what Christ did for us. While we were His enemies, He served us. While we were rebels, He died for us. That's the evidence. Don't lie to yourself and say, oh, I am this nice person. I am this compassionate person. I am this loving person. When all the people that you love and all the people that you serve and all the people that you're compassionate to are people that in your own mind and your own eyes deserve your compassion. When the true evidence is when you're able to do that to people who don't deserve it. We need to be willing to suffer the loss of our own dignity, to suffer the loss of our own standing within the community, whatever that is. Even if that community is only your household, even if that community is only, your children, of losing that standing and saying, I'm just here to serve. I'm just here to serve you. I'm here to love you and serve you. Not based on whether or not you deserve of that service. I'm doing it because that's what I've been shown of God. God has shown me that the way He served me.